Welcome to Watching the Horizon. I'm Jake. Well, it seems to me everywhere that I look, there's a Facebook post, there's an Instagram, there's a YouTube video talking about prepper bags and bug out bags and bobs, 72-hour kits, go bags and car bag, boat bag, walk bags, and just there's too many bags, man. Now, like 99% of you, I am not a professional hiker. It's not something that I do on a most regular basis. I get outside, it happens, but it's not something that I engage in all the time. So I don't have all the equipment and all the gear to go on, 20, 30, 40-mile hikes. That's not my thing. I also don't have any experience whatsoever in special forces. I am not ex-military. I am not current military. And I'm not saying anything bad about those who currently have been or are. In fact, hats off to you. But most of you fall into sort of the same boat as me. And to top things off, I don't have a very big budget for this. I'm definitely budget-minded when it comes to doing preps and getting things together. So I want to talk to you about what types of emergency bags really are necessary for the majority of people. The first bag I'm going to talk about is a go bag or a 72-hour kit. A 72-hour kit is really designed to sustain you and allow you to survive for 3 days. This is the type of bag that you would use when you have very little to no warning. It's the kind of bag that you would take with you on, say, a road trip, or if you have the ability to just throw it in your car because maybe you've got an extra long commute, it would be great to have that, because if you ever broke down, if you ever found yourself in a bad storm or a bad situation, you're going to have food, water, supplies, a way to stay warm for 3 days. Now, this kind of bag is something that's going to get probably a lot of use, or at least it should get a lot of use as far as it being hauled around everywhere. I don't have the ability to have one of these bags in my car and in my house and at my place of work and over at my parents' house, and I can't afford all of these bags. So I need one good bag that I'll be able to take with me that also isn't, a big pain in the butt to carry around. So some tips as far as what kind of bag that you could use. Really, it needs to be lightweight. This is not going to be the kind of bag where you're going to be planning on going hiking, for 20 or 30 miles or something like that. This is just sort of a grab-and-go bag, an emergency overnight bag ×3 that's going to sort of get you through the thick of it. A duffel bag might work for this, but my particular preference is a good old backpack. Nylon, denim, I don't know, something with a sturdy zipper backpack. Something with good strap. I still have my backpack from my college days, and it's in just as good shape today as it was back then. What's particularly good about a backpack, anyway, is that it blends in. It's sort of inconspicuous. I've got this thing loaded up, but it doesn't necessarily look like it's the type of bag that's totally hunkered down with supplies. So because of the type of material that it's made of, it's very durable, and it also happens to be somewhat water resistant. So whatever bag that you choose should have those same kind of qualities, because you really don't know what kind of environment you're going to end up in, or what was the circumstances that caused you to have to grab that bag and go. Anyway, better to be prepared. Now, if your go-to bag that you're thinking is going to work in this situation isn't necessarily waterproof, no big deal. You can go get yourself some of that hydrophobic spray, or you can even treat it with a Scotch Guard, or I've seen some pretty cool videos on how to treat that cloth with like a beeswax kind of thing to, give it that extra durability, that extra waterproofness, which is fine. Now, like I mentioned before, the whole idea is that this bag is supposed to sustain you for at least 3 days. So things like, an extra roll of toilet paper, your toiletries, some backup medication if that's something that you're on. At the very least, some Band-Aids, some Advil, again, the food, the water, some space blankets, extra socks, that kind of thing. we can get into the actual specifics of what should go in a 72-hour kit in another video, or I'll just show you what's in mine. But the idea is that each person in your family needs to have their very own bag. Now, obviously, if you've got little kids, it's good practice to, kind of go through the motions of having a bag and having that bag ready for them. But obviously, by no means are they going to be thinking of or have the wherewithal to grab this bag in the event of an emergency. Now, maybe you're like 1 out of 1,000,000 Americans who actually practices a fire drill. And if that's the case, that would be a great part to put into your fire drill, is on your way out the door, grab your 72-hour kit. Now, I've got one of those little bench cubbies that sit next to our door. We kind of throw our shoes underneath, and it's just sort of a resting place when you first come through the door. Now, we keep our bags kind of neatly lined up underneath this bench, so it's easy to find, especially in the dark. We know where it is. It's on the way out the door. It's easy to get to. Now, being a prepper is more about just being prepared for, aliens or, the apocalypse or something like that. Being a prepper really is about being prepared for all of life's situations, especially the more common ones. Things like losing a job or getting into a car accident and ending up in a hospital. My go bag has actually seen quite a bit of use, especially somewhat recently. And I was actually very thankful that I had mine ready to go and sitting by the door because, well, I got a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning, and as they say, no good news comes that early. And sure enough, I had a family member that was in the hospital, so I was out the door. I was thankful that I didn't have to scrounge around and try to remember, toothbrush, toothpaste, comb, floss, whatever, extra pair of socks, some, deodorant, a clean shirt, whatever. I was able to just get up and go. Grabbed the bag, got in the car, and I ended up having to drive like an hour and a half away. And that's not super far, but that's certainly not convenient as far as going to stay at a hospital. And when I got there, I found that I was going to be there for a couple of days. And man, that bag came in handy. Seriously, I didn't have to worry about having to leave the hospital room because I needed to go buy supplies at the grocery store or a Walgreens or something like that. I had everything with me. And so I was able to spend very valuable time actually there with my family rather than having to make up for the fact that I didn't plan ahead for an emergency. That's just one example, a real honest, real life example of how having a go bag, man, it saved my butt, and it really made a difference in, I feel, the quality time that I was able to spend with my family. That was a really big deal for me. So have a 72-hour kit or go bag for each member of your family, and just make sure that it's in an easy place to find in the dark, that you can just grab and go. Definitely not at the bottom of the closet, like if you have a go bag, I suspect is where it is right now. Get it out. Now, the next type of bag I want to talk about is really the one that gets most of the press, and that is a bug out bag, or a bob for short. Now, I feel like of all the videos and all of the instructionals that I'm able to see about bug out bags, they kind of seem overdone to me. I mean, some of these bags are quite elaborate, and that's fine if you've got that kind of money. But really, what is the essence of a bug out bag? So let's just kind of start very quickly at sort of what it's all about. The whole point of bugging out of your location is sort of this last ditch eject from your premises, like some sort of event has caused you to feel that you are going to leave your home, your property, your location, probably forever, never to return, with no hope of coming back at any point to resupply yourself. You are bugging out and evacuating. I kind of feel like a better term for the bag would be an evacuation bag, because it gives more kind of emphasis on what this is really about. Now, like the name implies, a bug out bag, really it's about travel. So if you're going to have a bug out bag, it needs to be because you have somewhere to bug out to. Now, each person is going to have a different circumstance. You might be bugging out to a location that's only, say, 10 or 20 miles away from where you currently are now. Others might be a lot further, might be hundreds of miles, might be thousands. I don't know. But the whole idea here is that this bag is intended to keep you alive during your trip to your bug out location. It is not in and of itself a means of survival indefinitely. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that I see is these bug out bags that include, everything except two of every animal. I mean, there's such a thing as overkill here. So like the 72-hour kit, you're going to want to have food. You're going to want to have water. You're going to want to have a means of filtering and treating water, because there's no way you're going to be able to carry that much water anywhere you go. So it needs to also include things like a map, a travel route, somewhere that you'll be able to find and follow water on your way to where you're going. It should have things like socks, extra shoes, security, a means of self-defense, whatever that means for you, communications, and I'm sure lots of other things that I'm not going to cover at this moment. Again, maybe I'll take you through my bug out bag and you can see what I've got, and then we can kind of discuss the pros and cons. But that's the thing, is everyone's bug out bag will be different, because we're not all going to bug out to the same place. At least we better not, because seriously, if you were already there when I got to my bug out location, it's going to get a little awkward pretty quick. So yeah, let's not go there. Now this kind of bag, this is going to be the kind of bag that you're going to want to put a little bit more money into. It needs to be a little bit more sturdy. I don't think you're going to get away with just a backpack, no matter how rugged your college day pack is. Think more of like a hiking pack, whether it's an internal frame or an external frame. You're definitely going to want to have some sort of framed pack in this instance, because you will be carrying a lot more than you were in just your go bag. Now, some people's bug out bags are so big that part of their bug out plan is they're going to use a vehicle to transport it. And you know what? That's awesome. If you've got a bug out vehicle in mind, then that's great. And we can talk about bug out vehicles another day. But what if your vehicle were to break down? Or if all of a sudden you were to come across a mob of people that no matter how much you gunned it, you can't plow through all of them? Yeah, that's a scary situation. And there's a chance, especially if it's a very wide, climactic, massive SHTF scenario, you might lose your vehicle. Can you carry your bug out bag? And if you can, how far? If you can't actually carry it and hoof it to wherever you're going, then you're going to need to change something, either about your location or about your bag. Now, the main point of note with this type of bag really is, well, it's for camping, like camp traveling on foot covertly. You're not going to want to bring a lot of attention to yourself. Doing so would indicate to others that you have supplies, and therefore those who did not have the foresight to prepare themselves are going to see you more as a target. I know, you're going to lock and load and no one's going to mess with you the whole trip. You're going to be like total commando force all the way there, shoot anything that moves, yada, yada, yada. No, the reality is you're going to sleep. The reality is you're going to be scared. Even if you're totally prepared for this mentally, you're going to be scared. That's okay. Your bug out bag is going to have everything that you need to get from here to there in an emergency. So between the bug out bag, which should probably be kept with the rest of your preps or some sort of central location that you'll be able to grab and go. The idea with the bug out bag is you'll have more than just, say, a minute or two to leave. Like, you might realize that something's happening or something's coming, and you're like, okay, let's get the supplies, and boom, you're gonna, punch the button and you're gonna go, and never to return back to your home again, potentially. In my opinion, these are the only two bags you need. Some of you might feel that you really need to have a go bag for your car, and that's fine. If you can afford to have a go bag to go in your car, that's great. Do it. I live close enough to work that if somehow I were to get stranded or I needed to get home in the middle of the day and my car was not available to me, I could hoof it home and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But that's just me. Now, suffice to say, I do have tools and water in my car because that's just smart. But as far as my actual 72-hour kit, I don't keep food and a lot of drinkable water in there. I keep a gallon just to have, it's an older car, so in case I need to cool off the radiator, or, you can drink it too, you never know. But I do keep some supplies in the car, but I don't actually have a full 72-hour kit go bag in the car. Now, if I go on a trip, if I go overnight somewhere, if I go, visit some family or something like that, I do. I grab the go bag and I throw it in the car just in case. Because, you never know what's going to happen. Even if I'm going to go pack my other stuff, I've got my luggage with my overnight toiletry kit and everything else, and I'll still grab the 72-hour kit and throw it in the back of the car just to have. If you can afford to have a completely separate bag that's completely stocked and supplied, and you don't mind visiting this bag at least once or twice a year to make sure nothing's that kind of thing, that's great. I say go for it. Having a bag at work, I don't have the luxury of having any kind of privacy at work. If I were to keep a bag there, it would be gone before too long. It's not that kind of place that I could actually store, something of value like that there. If you can do it, great, go for it. You never know. Better to have too much than too little in this type of situation. But I would say, the majority of you out there, when it comes to emergency bags, you only need two. You just need your 72-hour kit go bag, and you need an actual bona fide bug out bag. That's it. So anyway, like I said, we'll go over what those look like and the types of things that I put in my bags, and I'll get some feedback from you, see what you guys like. But seriously, if you think that there's a third or fourth type of emergency bag that really every prepper should have, let me hear it. I'd love to know. Maybe I am missing some sort of big obvious thing, but I really feel like between these two bags, you can very cost effectively prepare yourself for just about anything. So anyway, I appreciate you watching, and be sure to keep your eyes open.